This is clearly an act to kind of push us all out.
When the historic Animo Mansion downtown was bought by new owners, the people living here knew change was coming. The notice they received on their doors, however, left them stunned.
Nothing prepares anybody for a 200% rent increase. That's unjust. It's unfair. There is nothing humane about it.
Tim Kenny was told his rent would increase $1,800 a month, from just shy of $900 to nearly $2,700. Building owner ARH Holdings told CTV News maintenance on the century-old building has not been kept up, and it requires extensive renovations.
Public pressure is working on them.
Kenny says after days of media coverage about the rent hike, the company dialed it back, telling tenants it was a misunderstanding and everyone would instead be charged a flat $1,800 per month.
For me, again, that's double my rent.
Kenny and other tenants have been exploring options to fight back, but legislation is not on their side.
Alberta really does not have any real rent regulation policies in place other than restricting rent increases to happen only once per year.
Most provinces and territories have some sort of rent control, with maximum annual increases ranging between 1.7% and 5%, and an opportunity for landlords to apply for something higher.
But we are not going to bring in things like rent control, which are going to stop the great progress that we see taking place in Alberta.
Our province continues to lead the country in housing starts, building 18% more homes in the first quarter of this year compared to last year's record-breaking first quarter.
We're going to continue to be focused on supply. The places in our country that have not been continue to see rent go up. If you bring in things like rent control and regulate rent, you stop construction.
In reality, there's really a myriad of factors that impact the rate of rental housing construction, like financing and construction costs, availability of labor.
The Canadian Centre for Housing Rights is a group that advocates for adequate, accessible, and affordable housing. It points to Quebec as an example of a place with robust regulations that's still seeing significant development.
In Montreal, this past year, we saw the highest rate of rental housing development all across the country.
In Quebec, a rental tribunal publishes annual recommendations on what it considers a reasonable rent increase, using a formula that considers landlords' costs. This year, it's 5.9%, the highest it's been in at least 30 years. Landlords aren't bound by that number. It is meant to be used as a negotiating tool.
If your rent goes up at a predictable rate that is in line with, your wage or whatever else, it means, people can plan better for the future, and also they have more disposable income, so they can spend that money in other places in the economy.
While Alberta is still considered one of the most affordable places to live in the country, over the past 5 years, rents have been on the rise. According to rentals.ca, average rents for homes built as rentals rose 38.5%. Among the 6 largest markets in Canada, Calgary saw the highest 5-year growth at 43.5%. Edmonton tied Vancouver for second at a 26.7% increase.
We are leveling off across the country right now.
Giacomo Lattis of rentals.ca says measures like a hard rent cap can help tenants, but he points out in the places that have them, rents still rise.
Because when someone moves out of that apartment, the landlord has no choice but to increase that rent to make up for all the years of not being able to compete with just the normal costs of upkeep.
I'm still in shock.
At this campaign announcement involving residents at the Animo, Canada's NDP says it is the only federal party fighting for renters. While rent regulation is provincial, it wants to tie federal housing funds to rent control.
Making sure that people have somewhere that they can afford and that they have the safety and the stability to stay in is vital.
At another housing complex here in Edmonton, tenants have been asked to pay hundreds more in rent in the form of fees, and some are being hit harder than others. A gray area in the Residential Tenancies Act. More on that in my next segment.